Hey Guardians, I just want to let everyone know that I do have both a Twitch and a Twitter, and I'm very active on both. Feel free to come give me a follow on both, links in the description. So, man, where do I start with this thing? I reviewed the old Exalted Truth around 2-ish or so years ago, and back then, while I liked the canon, I had some complaints. Namely that it just felt off. It felt weird, which is pretty typical for these Suros model hand cannons for whatever reason. But I swear Bungie must have tweaked this thing under the hood somewhere because it feels much, much better than it did back then. And on top of that, it also has an amazing perk pool. It's on your screen now and just look at it. It's beautiful. This might be the best 140 hand cannon perk pool in the game. Like, we haven't had a perk pool this good on a 140 since Rose dropped. This perk pool is stacked with great rolls for PvP and for PvE. So let's start with PvP. Exalted is a Void 140 hand cannon you can get from Trials of Osiris, and if you want to know the best way to do that, you can reference my Trials guide that I released with the rework, link in the description. So previously, Exalted was a stat monster, and that hasn't changed. Taking a look at its base stats, we have 50 range, 58 stability, 55 handling, 72 aim assist, and 22 AE. Now, starting with your stat perks, there's a few ways you could go with this, but my top recommendations would be either Fluted Barrel or Hammerforged Rifling, depending on if you value handling or range more, then Accurized Rounds for your magazine, and a Range Masterwork. You could also go with Small Bore, but this isn't really a weapon that struggles with stability, so I don't really think that's necessary here. Now, with Fluted Barrel, you have 70 range, 66 stability, and 73 handling. From there, with an Adept range mod, you're at 80 range with around 35-ish meters of range, or if you'd prefer, go with Ballistics for 76 range and 72 stability. Then with Hammer Forged, you have 80 range, 61 stability, and 58 handling. An Adept range mod will take you to 90 range with around 36 to 37 meters of reach, and then you have 61 stability and 58 handling. So those are going to be my top picks for stat rolls, but either one will work just fine, and it'll mostly be up to what you value more, handling or range. Now, moving into those third and fourth columns. In the third column, you have Withering Gaze, Keep Away, Lone Wolf, Moving Target, Zen Moment, and Slide Shot. Then, fourth column, Repulsor Brace, Eye of the Storm, Mag Howl, Opening Shot, and Precision Instrument. Now, I'll mention one very interesting combo here first, and that's Withering Gaze with Repulsor Brace. With Withering Gaze, aiming down your sights for a short time will proc the perk, and your next shot will weaken your target. And then with Repulsor Brace, killing a Void debuff target will give you an overshield, and you can see the synergy there. Now, this really isn't my preferred role, purely because it does cater to a very ratty playstyle, since you'll be posted up on a lane waiting to proc the perk, which typically takes somewhere between 1 and 2 seconds. But obviously, the potency is there, and it would work great with Void builds also, such as Withering Gaze would allow you to proc Stylish Executioner pretty well on demand. Now, outside of that, I mean, where do I even start? There's just so many good combos here. Keep Away Precision Instrument, Slide Shot with Opening Shot, Zen Moment with Eye of the Storm, Slide Shot and Mag Howl, Keep Away Opening Shot, Slide Shot Precision Instrument, Lone Wolf Opening Shot, Moving Target Opening Shot. There's dozens and dozens of good combos here, so I'm just going to stick with a few of my favorites here, but just know that you have a better chance of getting a good roll than a bad one. Now, first off, as always, let's talk just general purpose dueling type rolls. In the third column, you could go with Keep Away and either Opening Shot or Precision Instrument. Keep Away for the boost to your range, accuracy, and reload speed when no enemies are near you, and then either Opening Shot for the boost to range, stability, and aim assist on your first shot, or Precision Instrument if you want a little extra range. Remember that in my recent Fatebringer review, a Fatebringer with Fluted Barrel, Accurized Rounds, Keep Away, Precision Instrument, and a Ballistics mod was hitting its TTK all the way out to 37 meters. So if you want a really rangy hand cannon, then Keep Away with Precision Instrument is definitely worth your consideration. Then, of course, Eye of the Storm would also work great in that fourth column, but honestly, this thing already shoots so flatly that I don't really think it's needed, but it's still a very, very good option. Next up, of course, Zen Moment with the exact same options I just listed in the fourth column. Zen Moment mainly for the flinch resistance and recoil control. It's just a great overall perk. Then next up, of course, your classic slide shot with opening shot or slide shot with Eye of the Storm, though Precision Instrument would work fine there as well. Even though slide shot is only helping your range and stability on that first shot, I honestly really just like slide shot for the convenience of not having to reload manually basically ever. Now, I did also get basically a perfect 5 out of 5 slide shot roll. The only issue is it isn't adept, which is pretty well on par for my Trials RNG. Then next up, Lone Wolf and Opening Shot for a roll that literally just aims itself. You could go with Moving Target, but unless you really value the slight strafe speed boost Moving Target gives you, then Lone Wolf is just a better option. Lone Wolf will give you the same ADS aim assist bonus as Moving Target and a faster ADS speed, and all that doubles if you have no allies near you. But of course, that being said, if you get a Moving Target roll, you should absolutely keep it, because it would not surprise me at all if Lone Wolf gets nerfed at some point. It's just that strong of a perk. Now, if we're talking a role meant more for just slaying out, right? Kill chaining, that sort of thing, easily the best option here is Slide Shot with Mag Howl. Now, with Mag Howl, Precision Final Blows will give you 1 stack of Mag Howl. The number of stacks you get depends on how many Precision Final Blows you get before manually reloading the weapon, meaning going through the reload animation in most cases. In other cases, such as the reload dodge on Hunter, that will also proc the perk. Now, 1 stack of Mag Howl means that first round in your mag after reloading will be a very, very high-powered round. And you're looking at around a 50% damage boost, to be precise, making it one of the most potent damage perks in the game. And if you have 2 stacks of Mag Howl, you can outright just 2-tap, and while 1 stack will let you 1 crit and 2 body, meaning you could use this in a way similar to something like Ace, why wouldn't you just go for the 2-tap? So the play with Mag Howl is to try to get at least 2 stacks before manually reloading the weapon, and Slide Shot can reload the weapon without proccing Mag Howl. So get that 3-tap, slide to top off your mag, get another 3-tap, manually reload, there's your 2-tap. And yeah, you could of course take this even further if you wanted. Go for 4 stacks of Mag Howl for 2 rapid 2-taps, that sort of thing. It can be a fun mini game while also being very, very lethal. Now, while once again there are dozens of different options here, those are just my favorites, but if you get one with a combo that you want to try, then go for it. Again, you seriously have a better chance of getting a good roll on this weapon than a bad one. And also, keep in mind, the new one and the old one are both enhanceable, so that's worth noting as well in case you have an old one that you want to try. Now, as far as how Exalted performed, like I said, while Bungie hasn't said anything about it, I'm convinced they had to have changed something under the hood, because Exalted just feels so much better than it used to. Now, does it feel as good as Rose? Not quite, the main difference really being the aim assist. Now, Exalted of course has far superior stats to Rose, but Rose has such high aim assist that it will just bend bullets where Exalted won't. And also, Rose is a lightweight frame for that +2 to your mobility stat, so it has that going for it too. And to be honest, I really wish they'd made Exalted a lightweight, because we don't have a lightweight hand cannon in the energy slot, so that was kind of a throw in my opinion. But regardless, Exalted still felt incredible. Like I'd say, as far as just raw gun feel goes, it's almost on par with Palindrome now, and objectively speaking, this is easily the best 140 hand cannon in the energy slot, and it's not even close. And on top of that, Exalted looks sexy, especially with the red glow, and the weapon model is extremely slim and unobtrusive, which I always very much appreciate. Exalted Truth just looks very, very clean when you're looking down those sights. My only real complaint feel-wise is, my god, I hate how this weapon sounds. I just wish it sounded a little lower, a little punchier like other hand cannons do. But if you're a PvP player, then yes, I'd say this is absolutely worth your time if you want a good 140 in the energy slot. And you should, because that opens up your kinetic slot for weapons like Deadlock, Chaperone, Defiance of Yasmin, Eye of Soul, so on and so forth. Now, let's talk a little bit about PvE, because there's some awesome stuff here too, especially if you like your Void builds. In that third column, you have Withering Gaze, Destabilizing Rounds, or maybe Slide Shot. We'll talk about that a little bit. Then in that fourth column, you have One for All, Repulsor Brace, and Demoralize. Now, as far as leaning more into your Void stuff goes, my favorite options here will be either Withering Gaze or Destabilizing Rounds with Repulsor Brace for the exact same reason I like Withering Gaze with Repulsor in PvP. Both Gaze and Destabilizing provide Void debuffs. The main difference being that, of course, Withering Gaze will debuff whatever you shoot directly, but Destabilizing Rounds will cause enemies to explode on kill and make any nearby enemies volatile and damage them. And keep in mind that Destabilizing Rounds did get a substantial buff this season, and it's feeling awesome. So with that combo, it really just depends on what you value more there. Withering Gaze provides a more direct path to that Repulsor Brace overshield, but Destabilizing Rounds is the more potent add clear perk. Then the other Void option would be either Withering Gaze or Destabilizing Rounds with Demoralize, a new perk where precision final blows will weaken nearby enemies. And this is still a very good option and for sure worth considering. Now, if we're talking more just general play, I would say Withering Gaze, Destabilizing Rounds, or Slide Shot with One for All. Withering Gaze, again, just for the weaken, Destabilizing for volatile, or Slide Shot just to keep your mag topped off, and then One for All for a very free 30% damage boost after hitting 3 targets. As always, note that's just hitting 3 separate targets, not killing them. So while I would say this is definitely more of a Void build crafting weapon than anything else, it's still a very strong PvE weapon, especially in seasons like the current one where the artifact has a ton of extremely potent Void mods. And also keep in mind that Withering Gaze also serves as an on-demand weaken source, which is also just generally very useful in PvE. So overall, Exalted Truth is awesome. It's great in PvE, and I would genuinely consider it S tier for what it is in PvP. At the very least, it's an S tier energy 140 and one that is well worth your time and effort to grind out. And again, check the description for my trials guide if you want to know the most efficient ways to do that for your skill level. I love this hand cannon. It will see regular use with me, and I plan on grinding for it every time it's the Trials Adept weapon, or at least until I get my rolls. But that's all from me today, Guardians. I hope you enjoyed the video or found it helpful. If you did, then do me a favor and hit that like button, leave me a comment with the role you want on Exalted, and hit that subscribe button with the bell icon. And if you really liked the video, then check the description for my Twitch and Twitter, or if you're feeling extra generous, I've enabled tips on my channel and am using them to fund a new PC as my current one is wearing out quickly. But as always, no pressure at all. I'm honestly just glad y'all are here. But for now, Guardians, I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good night.